I just spent 2 weeks traveling in Mexico, and in this video I will answer your questions about my time and my experiences there. I have your questions in front of me on my laptop right now, so let's start right away. And yeah, there will be timestamps down below for each question, so feel free to skip ahead to the questions you're interested in the most. And the first question is actually a funny one already. Mexico wasn't yellow like in the movies. And that is funny that somebody actually asked about that, because I mentioned that in one of my videos from Mexico City that, yeah, this is what Mexico really looks like, not as yellow as in many movies. In case you don't know what I'm talking about, in many American movies, for example, whenever there's a scene that plays in Mexico, they often put like a yellowish filter over the scene. You can see that especially, for example, in the series Breaking Bad. Each scene in Breaking Bad that plays in Mexico looks more yellow than the scenes that play in the US in the series. So on my first day in Mexico City, I joked about a bit like, oh, Mexico doesn't really look that yellow like I saw it in Breaking Bad. So no, that is not true. The real Mexico doesn't look yellowish. And then the next question, which is actually the question I got asked the most, about safety. Did I feel in danger in Mexico? So obviously the safety topic, the did you feel in danger, did you feel safe topic is a big one when you're traveling to Mexico. But I can really say, out of every places I have visited in Mexico, there was not a single place where I felt unsafe or in danger. I do have to mention though, I mostly sticked to the city centers. So I visited Mexico City, I visited Oaxaca and Cancun. And out of these 3 places, I can really say I felt safe everywhere. But yeah, I basically sticked around the city center, the touristy areas. Cancun obviously is very touristy, although I also explored downtown area Cancun, which is not that touristy. But then Oaxaca felt touristy, although not super touristy with foreign tourists, but there were many local tourists. So the city center in Oaxaca also had like a touristy vibe to it. Also, I felt very safe there, yeah. And Mexico City was probably the place, or was the only city where I really went also into more local areas. Like most of my time in Mexico City was in the city center, which is touristy, but you remember my video from Mexico City where I went to this market, I forgot the name, I think La Merced, and locals told me this is a very local market and tourists usually don't go there. So that was like a local area of the town, and even there, like I was not constantly looking around my shoulder and feeling like, oh, I need to be worried here. So I felt safe, but I also have to say I only went out during the day. Like I think the latest I was out in Mexico was like 9 p.m. So never really late at night. And yeah, I mostly spent my time in the city centers, the touristy areas. So I didn't really venture out super local. I didn't venture out to like small rural areas. So yes, I felt safe. But I think, at least from what I've heard, there are also areas in Mexico where you should definitely be a bit cautioned. And then, do the locals welcome tourists? And that is a big topic actually. I often get asked about how friendly are the locals, how welcoming are they, no matter to which country I'm traveling to. So I can really say the people in Mexico were really welcoming and friendly towards me. There was not a single situation where I felt like, oh, he's being or she's being rude to me, like I'm not feeling welcomed. Quite the opposite, to be honest. Like everywhere people welcomed me with a great smile, with great hospitality. They were friendly. So overall, I really had a good impression of the people in Mexico, and that was actually one of the things I enjoyed the most in Mexico. Smiling locals, they always seem to be in a happy mood. And you know, when I'm surrounded by happy people who welcome me with a smile, that instantly also puts me in a good mood. So the whole time I was in Mexico, I felt like that. And that was one of my favorite things about visiting Mexico actually. And by the way, all the questions I'm going through at the moment were questions you guys asked me on my Instagram. I'm also coming to YouTube questions later on, but if you're not following me on Instagram yet, feel free to also follow me there, Ken Abroad on Instagram. I'm posting stories, live updates where I am, and some behind the scenes. So feel free to also follow me on Instagram. Ken Abroad is my name there as well. And then, what was your favorite destination in Mexico? And yeah, like I said already, I only been to 3 places, Cancun, Oaxaca and Mexico City. And if I would rank these, well, I know Cancun is my least favorite already, because Cancun overall felt very touristy. It's very Americanized, like the prices were way higher compared to Oaxaca and Mexico City. And it felt like, yeah, like a super touristy resort town. Not really my vibe, but also to be honest, I was expecting that in Cancun. I was still curious to see it. So yeah, it was my expectation that Cancun will be like that, but still out of the 3 places I visited, Cancun was my least favorite. And then Oaxaca and Mexico City were both cities I really liked. Like obviously Mexico City is a very big city. It's bustling, chaotic. There's so much going on the streets. But I felt like Mexico City is really authentic. It was a nice vibe there. There were so many street vendors everywhere. There was life going on the streets, street food on every corner, and that was really cool to explore. So I actually really liked Mexico City. But Oaxaca was also cool. Oaxaca had a very authentic vibe. It was smaller, so small town vibes, but also very friendly, nice atmosphere. Also lots of local life going on the streets. So if I really have to pick, I would probably choose Mexico City as my favorite place, because I'm a big fan usually of like huge cities and I like capital cities in general. So probably I would say Mexico City, but I also really like Oaxaca actually. And then the next one, also a question I actually got asked a lot. How much money did you spend? How expensive is Mexico? So I was in Los Angeles right before I came to Mexico, and to compare these 2 places side by side, I can really say Mexico is way cheaper than the US, with the exception of Cancun. Cancun almost had American prices, but Mexico City and Oaxaca both were way more affordable compared to the US. And I would also say definitely more affordable than my own country, Germany. So I would say definitely Mexico is more affordable than most of the Western countries. And if you compare it with Southeast Asia, in case you're not familiar with my channel and my travels, I spent a lot of time in the past years in Southeast Asia. That's where I'm feeling like home. I spent the past 6 years of my life in Southeast Asia. I know that many viewers of my channel are people who either live in Southeast Asia or are interested to travel there. So if I compare it with Southeast Asia, I would say Mexico is a bit pricier compared to countries like Thailand, Indonesia, Malaysia, the Philippines, but yet cheaper than the US, so somewhere in between. And to give you some average prices, like you can get a meal in a restaurant in most of the places I visited in Mexico for around $10, street food $3 to $5, maybe even a bit cheaper if you go like very local small tacos. And like hotel prices, I spend on average about $150 to $180 per night for my hotels, but I only stayed in Western brands like Hilton or Marriott hotels. So I probably, if you go to like local hotel brands, they would be even cheaper. But I would say if you calculate a budget of $100 to $150 per day, that would be enough for Mexico. If you want to be really sure, then $200 per day, including everything, of course, hotel, transportation, food, that would put you on the safe side. And if you calculate $250 per day, then you would be on a very good side in Mexico, I think. Of course, that is from a tourist perspective. If you actually live there, then these costs would be reduced a lot, because if you rent a place there, it's probably way cheaper than a hotel, but you get what I mean, right? But for a tourist, I would recommend, about $100 per day should be enough. And $150 to $200 to put you on a really safe and comfortable site. And then, did you get sick drinking the water or eating the food? So I didn't drink tap water there. I usually avoid drinking tap water anywhere in the world, except my own country, Germany. There I feel comfortable to drink tap water. So I didn't drink tap water in Mexico, so the water didn't make me sick. I ate a lot of local food. I ate a lot of street food, especially in Mexico City. And not once did I get a bad stomach from eating in Mexico. So also like the hygiene standard seemed to be really good in Mexico if I compared it to some other countries I have visited in the past. Like some countries have questionable hygiene standards, especially when it comes to street food. But in Mexico, like every street food I ate at and every street stall that I came across looked very clean, hygiene, like many of the vendors used gloves to prepare the food. So there was not a situation where I felt like, I'm not sure if I should eat here. It doesn't really look that clean, So the cleanliness seemed to be okay, at least all the places that I have seen. And I didn't get sick from eating local food, even street food in Mexico. And then, here we have a question comparing Southeast Asia with Mexico. Like I said earlier, many of my videos were filmed in the past in Southeast Asia. I know many of my viewers are interested in Southeast Asia. So how are the locals there compared to the ones in Southeast Asia? And actually, that's an interesting topic, because while I was there, I already thought, this is actually quite similar to Southeast Asia. Like, you remember what I said earlier about the locals, how friendly they were, smiling, they always seemed to be in a happy mood, very welcoming, and that is very, very similar in Southeast Asia. Like, I spent a lot of time in like Thailand, in Malaysia, in Indonesia, in the Philippines, and one of my favorite things about traveling in Southeast Asia is the friendliness of the locals. Like, always happy, smiling, welcoming towards you, and that was very similar in Mexico. So I would say the locals in Mexico and in Southeast Asia are somewhat similar. So that was an interesting question and an interesting observation I also made while I was there. And yeah, the next question is also comparing again, what are the differences between Mexico and Southeast Asia? Of course, the language is different, the food is different, the culture there is different, but overall, when I walked around Mexico City, I felt like the vibes are very similar compared to walking in a big city in Southeast Asia. I do have to say though, Mexico was a bit more developed than most of the places in Southeast Asia. So overall, like, it looked more modern, it looked a bit more cleaner than some places in Southeast Asia. But the vibes on the streets were very similar, like Mexico City especially. There was so much life going on the streets, like vendors everywhere, markets on the streets, street food. The local life really seems to happen on the streets every single day there, and that is the exact same in Southeast Asia. So I would actually say Mexico and Southeast Asia are very similar in its own way. Of course, not the language, the food, but the vibes, the overall atmosphere there, that was very comparable in my opinion. And then, will you go to another Latin American country? And in case you don't know, Mexico was my first time in that part of the world. So I've never been to South or Central America before, never been to Mexico before, obviously. So my first time in that part of the world. By the way, I learned from you guys in the comment section that Mexico is actually part of North America. I don't know why, but I always thought Mexico is part of Central America. But yeah, many of you guys told me in the comment section that it is actually part of North America. But I'm definitely curious, and countries that come to my mind right away now, I would be interested to visit Peru. I would be very interested to visit Machu Picchu, especially there. And then I have a friend who recently been to El Salvador, and he told me many good things about that country. So I would also be curious to visit El Salvador. And then let's see which other countries in the area seem to be interesting to me in the future. But I'm like 99% sure within the next 12 months, I will go back to Latin America to film more videos there and to explore some other countries in that area. And then a follow-up question about that. Do you plan to travel anywhere else in Mexico in the near future? Overall, yes, I had a good time in Mexico, and I would be curious to go back to visit other cities in Mexico as well. Although I have to mention that if I go back to that region of the world, I will probably first visit other countries that I haven't been to yet. Like I just said, like El Salvador, Peru would be interesting. So probably I would travel to other countries first. But yeah, at some point in the future, I'm sure Mexico will cross my path again. I mean, it's like if I travel to the US again and then from there to South America, it's basically on the way. So who knows, maybe I will end up making another stop on the way basically to Mexico. So definitely, why not? And yeah, now let's go over to some questions you guys asked me here on YouTube. Did you like the atmosphere in Mexico, and would you go back to any other Central American countries? I basically just answered that already. And the atmosphere in Mexico, yeah, overall, it was a very welcoming atmosphere. The locals were friendly. The streets were lively. I really enjoy that when I'm in a country where the streets are very lively, where the life is happening on the streets. We don't really have like this being outside culture in my country, Germany. Like, I'm from a very small village in Germany. And if you walk around the streets in my village, no matter on what day, it will always be empty. You will hardly see any people. There are no vendors on the streets. We don't have street food in German villages. So the villages in Germany are usually very empty. If I compare it to villages in Southeast Asia, for example, they're always full of life. And now I haven't been to villages in Mexico, but I felt the same in Mexico City, Oaxaca and Cancun. There was life happening outside. It seems to be like being outside culture, you know what I mean? And that is something that I really enjoy in the countries I visit. So overall, I like that a lot about Mexico. And then, what was your experience in Mexico? Mostly positive, or did you have any negative experiences off camera? So he is asking 2 questions. Let's answer that part first. Did I have any negative experiences off camera? No, absolutely not. Not on camera, not off camera. So there was not a single situation where, I don't know, I felt in danger or somebody was rude to me. Not at all. So no negative experiences in my 2 weeks in Mexico, not on camera, not off camera. And then the second part of his question, did you feel any similarities between LA and parts of Mexico? And yeah, like I said earlier, in case you don't know, I visited Los Angeles basically on my way to Mexico, also filmed the video in Los Angeles. And it's actually funny because when I was in Los Angeles, and if you saw my video, like I tried street food there, I talked with vendors on the street. And I think if I remember correctly, every single vendor I talked to, not sure if they were from Mexico, but definitely from a Latin American country. So maybe also from another country in Latin America. Not sure if they were specifically from Mexico, but yeah, they were all from that part of the region. So I already felt like in Los Angeles already like a bit, okay, I'm getting some Latin American vibes here. So that was quite funny. So yes, I think there are some similarities between Los Angeles and Mexico. And then also a question I always get asked, no matter which country I travel to, what food did you like most from my country? I'm guessing his or her country is Mexico in this case. So what I can say, I was a fan of Mexican food already before I visited Mexico. I think Mexican food is one of the most famous cuisines around the world. You can basically find Mexican restaurants everywhere in the world. So I also ate Mexican food before I flew to Mexico. So one of my favorite foods before I traveled to Mexico were burritos. Yeah, burritos #1. And then I also enjoyed tacos before and fajitas. But then of course, when you actually visit the country, usually it tastes better in the country than it tastes abroad, you know? So my expectations were quite high for the food in Mexico, and I can say I wasn't disappointed. The food in Mexico was absolutely amazing. I would put Mexican food in the top 5 of my favorite cuisines in the world. I'm not sure where exactly in the top 5 I would rank it, but definitely among the top 5 favorite cuisines I ever came across anywhere in the world. And my most favorite food, so I really enjoyed tacos in Mexico. Tacos were always delicious. I had tacos plenty of times as street food in Mexico City. Never had a bad taco there. I had fajitas a few times. Fajitas were really, really nice. And then one of my favorite dishes were, what was the name? It was something I never tried on camera in Mexico, only off camera. It was something that my hotel in Oaxaca served as a breakfast. And it was, I think it was called entomatadas, something like that. I put a picture on the screen of it here. And it was basically a wrap with tomato sauce on top, chicken, queso, and that was so delicious. So that was maybe my favorite food in Mexico, together with burritos, I would say. Although it was, maybe you remember my Cancun video, it was difficult to actually find burritos. So I learned from you guys in the comment section then as well that burritos can normally more be found in northern regions in Mexico, not specifically where I traveled. But yeah, the food in Mexico was really good. And then he actually asked 2 more questions. What do you think of the service Mexicans receive when you buy something? I'm not sure what you mean with this. Maybe you're talking about the service that I received when I bought something. I'm not sure. If that's the question, then Mexicans, like I said earlier, they always treated me very nice and friendly. So yeah, there was always good service. And then among the Spanish-speaking countries, why did you choose Mexico? That's an interesting question. Because yeah, like I said earlier, that was my first time in this part of the world. Yeah, I was thinking about which country would be interesting to visit. And I don't know, but Mexico came in my mind right away. It's a very famous country. It's very near to the US. So I knew I wanted to have a layover in Los Angeles along the way. And Mexico was just the closest option nearby. I think it was only like a 2.5 hour flight from Los Angeles to Mexico City, if I remember right, like 2.5, 3 hours. Not really long. So it was easy nearby. And yeah, I think Mexico is a well-known, famous country. People all around the world know Mexico. And I was curious to see it for myself. I was very curious to visit Chichen Itza, which I did in the Cancun video. So that was one of my highlights. It's a wonder of the world, and seeing that with my own eyes that made me very excited to travel to Mexico. And overall I thought, yeah, Mexico can fit to also my style of videos that I film on my channel. So yeah, I think Mexico was a good decision and I definitely don't regret it, and I'm happy that I went to Mexico. And then a question that is a very interesting question, not really related to Mexico, but still I wanted to answer it because I think it's actually a very good question that can be helpful for you if you're traveling as well. How do you connect with locals in places where you don't know the language good? In case you saw my videos on the channel before, you know I visited many countries where I don't know the local language. Also many countries where the locals don't speak English. Like some countries there's literally zero English spoken, even in touristy areas. China, for example. And I never think that's a problem. I actually like it when I'm somewhere like completely like that. Nobody speaks English. I don't know the local language. That excites me for some reason. And how do I connect with locals? So what I always try to do is learn 2 words in the local language. Like you don't need to put a lot of effort to just learn 2 words, and these words are hello and thank you. And I can guarantee you, if you just know these 2 words in the local language, that already will open many doors for you. Imagine you are in a very local restaurant in a country where nobody speaks English, where you don't know the language. You walk into a local restaurant, they don't see tourists there, everyone stares at you, and then you say hello, a friendly hello with a friendly, polite tone in the local language. And I guarantee you, the locals will smile towards you, they will friendly greet you back with hello. Just saying hello in the local language leads to many smiles in my experiences. So I always learn hello and thank you no matter where I go. And I always try to be very polite. I'm a guest in their countries, so I should be respectful, I should be polite, don't be rude, don't shout at waiters or whatever, you know what I mean? So I always try to be the best version of myself, especially when I'm visiting as a foreigner, a foreign country. I'm a guest in their country. So I would say if you are respectful, if you are polite, if you speak with a gentle tone, like don't scream at somebody, don't be rude, you know what I mean? Say hello, thank you, maybe 2-3 more words in the local language. I guarantee you then most locals, 99% of the locals will also treat you with the same respect, the same friendliness back. I never had major issues in any country I visited. I never have problems with people being rude to me, and I think one reason why that's the case is because I'm always very polite, very respectful, very friendly towards everyone I encounter. And I think that's very important, not only when you travel, in life in general of course, but especially as a guest in another country, you should be friendly, respectful, and yeah, learn hello and thank you. That should lead to good experiences. And yeah, of course, if you want to like build a deeper relationship with people or build a deeper connection with the locals, then just hello and thank you and a smile on your face is not enough. But just on the surface level, as a tourist who visits a country for a week or 2, of course you can't learn the language. If you're visiting for a week, put a smile on your face and be friendly and respectful, and that will open many doors for you. And then the final question: for people that have traveled and enjoyed Asia as you have yourself, would you recommend visiting Mexico? And like I said already in more detail previously in the previous questions, Asia, Southeast Asia and Mexico are similar in many ways. So I think if you enjoy traveling to Southeast Asia, you would also enjoy traveling to Mexico. And can I recommend traveling to Mexico in general, not only to people who enjoy traveling Southeast Asia? Yes, absolutely. I had a great time in Mexico. It's an interesting country. The food is amazing. They have historical sites like Chichen Itza, which is, for me, really, really interesting to see. I think Mexico also offers like a big variety of different places. Like you have places on the ocean, beach towns, you have towns in the mountains, you have big cities like Mexico City. So there's a lot of variety, many places to be seen. So I can definitely recommend visiting Mexico. And yeah, this is a video on my second channel. On this channel, I'm uploading more personal videos, shorter videos, some Q&A videos like this one, videos that don't fit on my main channel. So if you're interested in these type of videos, feel free to also subscribe to this channel, my second channel. And if you want to see my full-length Mexico videos, they are over on my main channel, Ken Abroad. I will leave a link to it in the description. And then stay healthy, stay positive, and then see you in another video. Ciao guys!